I'd like to offer a response to a video that I came across recently of White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki referring to the ongoing inflation as, and I quote, Putin's price hike. This made its rounds on social media. Please take a look at the video and then I want to discuss it.
So because of the actions we've taken to address the Putin price hike, we are in a better place than we were last month. But we expect March CPI headline inflation to be extraordinarily elevated due to Putin's price hike. And we expect a large difference between core and headline inflation, reflecting the global disruptions in energy and food markets. So core inflation doesn't include energy and food prices. Headline inflation does. And of course, we know that core inflation, energy, the impact of energy, of course, on oil prices, gas prices, we expect that to continue to reflect what we've seen the increases be over the course of this invasion. And just as an example, since President Putin's military buildup accelerated in January, average gas prices are up more than 80 cents. Most of the increase occurred in the month of March, and at times gas prices were more than $1 above pre-invasion levels. So that roughly 25% increase in gas prices will drive tomorrow's inflation reading. And certainly it's not a surprise to us, but we certainly think it will be reflected. And in March, again, to give you a point of comparison, the average cost of a barrel of oil was around $110. That's compared to about $75 at the beginning of the year. So we expect this to all be reflected as we look at the data tomorrow. I will say that anytime there is heightened monthly data or inflation reporting or numbers, it is a reminder to us, to our allies on the Hill, and hopefully to many of the American people that we need to do more to reduce costs for the American people. We have, of course, legislation that could do exactly that, cut the cost of child care, of health care, of elder care. These all have enormous impacts on people's budgets, on when they're doing those calculations at their kitchen table, and certainly this data will be a reminder of the need to do something and take additional steps.
All right, that is extremely embarrassing. Nothing more, nothing less than embarrassing. It's the outright refusal to deal with in an honest way, in an adequate way, to deal with the ongoing problems that we're facing here domestically. Instead, they like to blame it on some foreign actor or foreign entity. It's everything but what it actually is. Now, before I divulge into this, of course, the right wing came out in droves to attack her for this, but it's not for the reasons that you would want. It's because they have their own line of attack. It's not because of Putin. It's because of the government spending. Nonsense. Nonsense. In fact, that's such nonsense, I don't even feel the need to give breath to that entire debate / conversation. But let's just stick to Ms. Psaki here. So she refers to the ongoing inflation of about 8.5%, that's the average, as Putin's price hike. Okay, let me just give you a brief fact in case you were unaware, or if you thought that her arguments there in that video were at least a little bit convincing. They weren't. The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has in no way any power himself to raise the prices for American consumers here at home. As if he's behind the scenes diabolically laughing to himself, rubbing his hands together as it's him that's flipping the switches to make the gallon of milk go up $1 or an extra 50 cents or whatever. The bread costs more, the cereal cost $1 more. I mean, it's ludicrous. It's absolutely absurd, this insinuation that this price hike, as she calls it, is the fact or is the fault of some foreign actor. Even more preposterous, the fault of one man, that being Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. But as we discuss this, let's just start with the basics here. And I've made videos about this in the past. We are going through an inflation. Inflation is a general rise in prices. Well, who the hell is raising the prices? Certainly not Vladimir Putin. Well, it's the people that have the ability to raise them. It's the CEOs, the owners of these different companies, the board of directors, the shareholders. A small minority of people, yes, that raise the prices for the vast majority of us, me and you, to deal with. And we have no say in it whatsoever. Yes, it's not democratic. Yes, it's unfair. Yes, it's unethical, but that's a situation that we're dealing with. It's not the fault of some foreign actor, specifically that Vladimir Putin, that we're undergoing an inflation. Nor is it the fault, as the right wing would have you to believe, social spending policies. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. As if President Joe Biden, who I am no fan of whatsoever, has been doing some crazy spending to actually help the American people, which he hasn't done. But anyway, I digress. The corporations have been raising their prices, and the Biden administration's refusal to deal with this has been striking, with Jen Psaki, most notably in that video that I just showed you, trying to get us to believe that it's the fault of some foreign actor. Listen, they have a plethora of ways they can go about combating this ongoing inflation. Let me just give you a couple of examples. If the most powerful man in the world, leading the United States, were to say to his citizens, hey, look, this specific company, A, B, C, or D, whoever, is raising their prices. And they're doing so because they want to make profit. I mean, why do these corporations raise their prices? In order to make profit, in order to make more money. Okay, well, guess what, guys? Don't shop there anymore. Don't buy their products. In fact, let's boycott these people. Do you know what kind of effect that would have? Extremely damaging effects for whatever company it is. I mean, this is the President of the United States with his administration behind him railing against whatever company. They're not doing it. They're completely silent because these people that had these companies that are raising the prices, that are inducing this inflation on us, are the same people that run money into our government, the same people that's giving money to their political campaigns and all the rest of it. And so it's a give and take kind of deal. And so when these corporations raise prices, the politicians know to sit idly by and be quiet because those are their owners. And if they speak up about it, then the money will slow down and it'll go somewhere else. Also, a Republican president, a man by the name of Richard Nixon, had a solution back when he was president of the United States to stop an inflation that he was dealing with. He implemented what's widely known as a price freeze, or as he said to the people that were indeed raising the prices, which are the same group of individuals that are doing it today, if you raise prices, there will be repercussions. You cannot do so, or else we may just come and get you and put you in jail. And look, there's a list of ways you can go about averting these types of issues that are all too common in any given capitalist society. But what our government is choosing to do right now, the Federal Reserve, at least more specifically, is fiddle around with raising interest rates, which could quite possibly and or maybe even worsen the ongoing crisis. Now, to speak to the Putin price hike a little bit more directly. Yes, the war in Ukraine is aiding to inflation. Is it the cause of it? No, of course not. That's completely absurd. And to be quite honest with you, it's bullshit. But is it helping to drive up the prices? Of course. Well, why? Because employers will use, the leaders of these companies, they'll use any excuse in the book to raise their prices. Oh, the supply chain. Oh, the Ukraine. Oh, this. Oh, that. Or I have to pay my employees a bit more. I mean, they'll use whatever excuse there is to raise their prices so that they can make more profit. And when you go about waging economic warfare and trying to isolate a big player in the global economy, such as Russia is, a really big exporter of things like oil, gas, fertilizer, and a plethora of other things, it has rippling, reverberating effects to where it's felt here at home, probably most notably in Europe and many other places around the world. You look at Ukraine. Ukraine is a big exporter of wheat and grain. There's a war being fought in Ukraine right now. And so those productions are slowing up and we're seeing crises in other places. I'll just read you a couple of headlines. Somalia gets more than 60% of its grain from Ukraine and Russia, while Eritrea gets nearly 97% of its wheat from Ukraine. They now have to bid for other grain on the international market. Prices will explode and people will starve. Here's another headline. The fallout of Ukraine's crisis on other regions is alarming. In the Middle East region alone, Lebanon wheat flour prices up 47%. Libya wheat flour prices up 15%. Palestine wheat flour prices up 14%. Yemen cooking oil prices up 36%. Syria cooking oil prices up 39%. And Look, there's been talks of food shortages. Obviously, food prices are going up, as I just read to you there. And these are all problems that Joe Biden himself, of course, backed by his administration, has said that they're willing to deal with for the sake of Ukraine. So they'd rather continue to arm neo Nazis in Ukraine, rejecting peace settlements so they can further fuel this ongoing proxy war with Russia. That's essentially the position of the US government. And as all of this is going on, they want to step out and lie to us and continue on this line of, oh, it's Putin's fault for the price increases and you should blame him. Because, look, they're not unaware. They know that Joe Biden's presidential tenure so far has been an abject failure when you consider the things that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail that he hasn't lived up to in any conceivable sense. And, if you look at his poll numbers, they're terrible. They're in the garbage. And what people are hitting him the most over is the economy. And the economy isn't looking too great right now. And with midterm elections coming up, they need someone to blame. Just like the previous administration, just like the administration before that one. They always look to blame it on something else. They love the foreign entities. Whether Chinese, the Middle East, the terrorists, the so-called terrorists. And in this case, it's Russia and it's Vladimir Putin, and they want to blame and see if they can avert the attention of Americans to not look at what they're doing as they actively embrace austerity here at home. But they're gonna be in for a pretty rude awakening because every indication that we can get so far is letting us know that this little blame game isn't gonna work.